I don't know what it is, the weather. I'm not sure. Is there like
being pressed for time, maybe?
probably?
Like, yeah, okay. So, welcome everybody to Longevity Kitchen.
Welcome.
Lisa, I think we're good. Did you make any announcements or anything?
No, I don't have anything to say at the moment. You guys are free to move forward.
Okay, thank you very much. So welcome everybody.
This is our 5th and final class for Longevity Kitchen. We thank all of you for participating. Up until this point, hopefully you learned a ton from us. And we're gonna really end the series on a high note today.
Well, we are ending the series where we had our in 2020 and 2021 we came out with our Mindful Kitchen series, which we had a lot of fun with.
Yes.
Then we decided to do this series, right, which is part of our Mindful. This is all part of our Mindful
Like an
Kitchen.
extension of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And this we explored the long living cultures. We've done this one a couple times. Yeah. It's been fun. I like learning about that.
I thought it was a great idea because I think it is a great way to explore or raise the awareness around how to live day by day in a way that is mindful, right? And is, I don't know, I think it just helps us push the pause button when we look at these other cultures and how they really it's just so simple. And again, day by day, you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, I mean, sort of.
Let me come back to it.
Okay. Okay, maybe I should have jumped in sooner.
Probably.
Okay, I wasn't getting the cues. I don't know why. Okay, I'm on it. So yeah, I think what is really great about all of these cultures.
You're making me laugh.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
We're back. We're here.
Okay.
We're good.
So I think what's so important is something you said actually, which was this simplicity.
Yes.
Right. And I think I was watching some shows on a cooking channel the other day, and then compared to what we're doing here. And here it's all about making it complicated and adding all these different layer ingredients, et cetera, and especially with Costa Rica, the Nicoyan Peninsula and Gulf Costa Rica in particular. This is what we're exploring today. Very simple.
Yes. It's such an interesting observation you made.
Yeah.
About watching cooking shows and how really, I think I learned about this in one of my master's classes, that it's a detriment to our society in terms of helping us to cook, because it's like a big setup, these cooking shows. I mean, imagine the massive production that's required to put on that show. The crew, I mean, they can't fail. They have to, at the end of that cooking show, put out a beautiful recipe. And it's like that the expectations for us to be able to achieve that are like impossible. It's impossible, right? And I think, and I learned that sometimes watching those cooking shows, as interesting as they may be, or if you get inspired by them, great. But I think if you feel frustrated or disappointed that you're not able to pull off what you see on these cooking shows, then maybe take a look at what we put together.
Yeah.
Because
and we always say, let's not make it complicated.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but in one of our recipes, we had
the jackfruit.
The jackfruit.
Yeah.
And we have
ripe cut jackfruit. Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
And we're going to talk about this too, because this is, we bought it prepared and we're using it prepared, but this is the not prepared.
Yeah. It's a little intimidating in a way. Yeah.
And so, but we have so many convenience items here in our country that's what we can take advantage of,
Agreed.
right? To make
Yeah.
it more simple.
Right. And we're gonna, excuse me, when we demonstrate that recipe, we're gonna show you the difference between the options. Like you could use this as your jackfruit or this as your jackfruit, and how nutritionally they are similar. But again, if they offer that convenience and if they mean you're going to actually cook, then by all means,
Yeah,
take
let's-
advantage of it.
Yes.
And I always think like sometimes I'm like not very confident in my cooking skills, but at the same time, hopefully you all through your participation with us have learned that that's relatable. You know, I find so many individuals that I work with at the center wish they cooked more for themselves, you know, or wish they, you know, knew more about some of the techniques that we're exploring. And I think hopefully you understand that we just want you to just get into the kitchen, you know.
Yeah, oh, definitely. The mistakes and the messes we make in the kitchen. Well, I guess they do make
I
us
mean,
more relatable,
I did
right?
happen to cut myself off the bus in the prep work. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so,
it
and we
happens.
couldn't find the Band-Aids.
No,
So,
it was a mess. It was like we were this close.
and we were on camera, so. She's like holding her fingers.
But so I think though, and then we can move on. I
Yeah.
think that does two things. I think that, you know, it builds confidence because you learn that, okay, I'm going to make a mistake. but
Right,
it builds our relationship because we're laughing about it. It's a story to tell.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
And we went through the experience together, which is
Right.
always everything. But in the end, guess what? We made some fantastic recipes.
yes, anybody could ask the staff at
Yes.
CWC whether or not they enjoy
Oh yeah.
Tuesdays after we've cooked in the kitchen. You know, everybody starts sniffing around and we get like, oh, are there any leftovers?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
just kind of linger, walk
Mhm.
in. Yeah. Yes.
So, we have been making some good recipes.
Yes.
Now we are embarking on, another program.
We are.
Yes.
I'm so excited. And Debbie has like these great ideas. So I gotta give you all the credit for it. Yeah. And I don't really even know where you came up with the idea.
I don't know, I was reading something.
She was reading something, but it was it's planned for the fall.
Yes,
So we have lots of time to prepare and really give you, I think, the best of what we've got
Oh,
so
yeah.
far.
Mhm.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
So it's all going to be based on how to support your immune function.
Right?
Again, using the mind and the body.
Yes, which is so important, right? It's so important. And also, so we hope you guys will stay tuned for that one.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody who's interested in our weight loss for wellness program.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we're recruiting for that.
Yes.
We are anticipated to start in mid-July.
Yes.
And it's our 20-week long program, and it is again mind body. What we do, we commit for 20 weeks together as a group, and that's because we cover it all.
Yes.
Everything you could possibly need to know about pursuing a healthy lifestyle,
And we
because
support.
and we are so supportive.
Yes.
Yes, we support one another, and we really learn from one another. Each group is dynamic and unique, and really, I think, so successful in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so hopefully if you're somebody who feels like you'd like to explore a healthy lifestyle program, but needs some support to begin to adapt a healthier lifestyle, we're your people.
Count on us.
Count on us. Yeah, and that program takes place on Tuesdays at
Tuesdays.
5 o'clock
5 to 6.
for those of you who work. And we will be offering it virtually, so yeah, if
It's
you
even
live
more
convenient.
Yeah, convenient.
Yeah.
You definitely can join us.
Mhm.
And I think it's all about like empowering individuals too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
Love
it's all about that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that.
And it's a show at the same time, the store tour that we went on.
Yeah, we did the COVID store tour last time, and we
With our masks on.
With our
walking
masks
around the
on.
store.
and we walked around everybody came via Zoom, but we did it on our phones at Jewel. So there was people doubting our sanity.
Just a
in
little
the
bit.
store, like looking at us like we were like really weird, and it was weird.
It
so.
was weird, but
yeah.
we pulled it together, and
Yeah,
we
we got
still,
I think we gave some great information
Yes.
in the midst of the pandemic
Yes.
with masks on a telephone.
and I think like even, with everything that Deb and I do together, you can tell we're just like so proud of ourselves right now.
Oh,
We do the best we can. We do, and that's another great lesson, like in life.
for all of
We
this. Yeah.
just do the best we can.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think that's such an important thing to remember, right? Like even, we always talk, cook more in your kitchen, cook more.
Yeah.
And again, people do feel intimidated by that. But like making mistakes is what it's all about,
Mhm.
especially at
Definitely.
the beginning, learning from your mistakes, like, oh, that one didn't work out, or
Yeah.
yum, that's a good one.
Exactly.
And we learned that too from a lot of our recipes. We've had some duds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we
Yes.
have, for
We
sure.
won't mention names.
No, we won't. But if you guys have made the recipes, you know which
know.
ones are duds. And so yeah, that's what it's all about is being mindful and
Mindful.
paying attention. So
Yeah,
I think everybody here knows us already.
I believe so too.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thank you.
So we'll skip our introductions for the 5th time.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, it must get
All
returned.
right, yeah. They're probably like, God, I hope they don't introduce themselves again.
This is when I just zone out.
Before, yeah.
What's in the
We
kitchen?
already know what you do.
How many different ways can you say it?
Okay, so we'll skip that. this
But
time.
yeah, and in our longevity kitchen series, I think about, how it is so simple, like, the things that we're learning, the recipes that we're exploring, and hopefully, along the way, that's what you've picked up on that. And, the flavor profiles that if you can find something, to what Debbie's point was, something really works in one of the recipes. If you really liked that, maybe think about what flavors were used in that recipe, because there might be a way to use that application in another recipe, and it makes the potential for the experience of cooking that much greater, that much more pleasant,
Yeah, so for
inviting.
example, this is Lori's favorite flavor profile, not mine. Mine is Greece, as everyone probably already knows.
Yeah, was it obvious?
But their flavor profile is lemon, oregano, olive
Yes.
oil, garlic. And I use that I use it in salad
Yeah.
dressings. I use it on fish, on chicken. Last night we grilled some chicken and I just grilled it with that mixture on top, a lot of oregano and
So good.
lemon and olive oil. Delicious.
Yeah.
Use it on like everything. That's the flavor profile that kind of appeals to me. And it's like, then I use it all the time and it's always delicious. So today you're going to learn some other flavor profiles,
Yeah.
and maybe those will speak to you also. We're going to explore some really interesting ingredients today too.
There's a recipe, all the recipes are interesting, but there's one in my mind that really I've never tried. And it stood out to me in the cookbook that we're looking at. So we're going to see how it comes together today.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. I don't know. We're a little skeptical.
We're going to have to give them a moment to buckle up, I think.
I think so.
So, there are some common themes. Remember that these areas are usually more isolated. So they've developed a cuisine that is unique to them and a culture. They're isolated, so they have to rely on each other, right? And they have to, because they're also isolated, even today, even by today's standards, these are pretty isolated. They really rely on what they can find locally and grow locally and seasonally. They really rely on that. Turns out that's healthy.
As it turns out. What do you know? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think like that probably it's interesting, even through COVID, probably we could have used some of those lessons, right? Because I know for me, I wasn't going to the grocery store as much, and what did I have that was easy to access that I could turn into a nourishing and delicious, recipe. I think that's sort of how in my life I could have applied some of these concepts.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. They all have very close communities where they rely on each other. Family is very, very, very important. They're doing things communally,
Mhm.
activities communally, particularly eating,
Yes.
right, and preparing meals. And I don't know, did I forget anything? Or
I think too, they look at food as, this like part of who they are, like they can.
identity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's very important that they pass that on through the generations. It's something, as Debbie said, it's part of their identity. It's something to be proud about. Like I think of the Icarians with their coffee or the
Mhm.
Sardinians with their wine.
Yes,
And it's,
very idiosyncratic of their culture and their communities. They develop a taste for it. We're going to see that with the Nicoyans today, that they have developed a taste for certain foods that are really kind of unique flavor profiles for them,
yeah.
right? And we think of like Costa Rica as just like the nations around the Caribbean, right? But turns out that Nicoya, their culture and their foods are different, right?
Yeah.
They're very unique to their location.
Yeah, and special, and I think and we're going to really get into the food today in this class.
Oh, yeah.
The one other thing about these long living cultures are that their environment and their lifestyle sort of nudges them to be very active, right? So they're almost constantly moving just as a part of their day-to-day life. And it's, whether it's to be out in the garden, foraging on some of the hills in the island for ingredients, shepherding.
Yep.
There's lots of reasons for them to be moving more. And I think that's an interesting way to think about movement, because we talk about that a lot in our groups. So many survivors struggle because of the complications of their treatment and side effects that linger, like neuropathies and even fatigue, that we want to just find little ways in your day to build more and more activity, because that matters.
Oh yeah, it so matters.
Yeah. And yeah, it just takes the pressure off of having to satisfy those requirements of 100 minutes or 150 minutes of activity every week. Or, I think just if you think
Just
about
move.
your behaviors, just move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about steps, because like if you have steps in your house, use them. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that we find is it's a close community, and some of the communities have a lot of religious faith.
Yes.
Right. So in Loma Linda, we found that not only it's a close community, it's a close community because they share their religion. And today's community shares a religion also. And so we find that it's not just community, but it also has to do with what they share, their commonalities.
Yeah. And I know that draws me closer to other individuals when I share common beliefs and values with them. That just strengthens the relationship. So.
Yes. Yeah. So big contrast to these sad diets.
All of these long living cultures, but especially in Nicoya as well. Like I always talk about the SAD diet, right? That acronym, Standard American Diet. And it's sad because of two things. It's highly, highly processed. So it's abundant. It's like excess of calories, excess of sugars, excess of salt, excess of saturated fats, trans fats even, which are now banned. But all this extra. And we're doing too much of that, while at the same time doing too little of all the super good, important, nutrient dense things. So we sort of have this epidemic that has, I think, begun since the early 80s, I would say 1980s, where we started to see all these highly processed foods and restaurants that our diet kind of shifted, where we were eating a lot more of these prepared processed meals, not cooking as much, so going out to eat much more.
Looking for convenience.
Yes.
And these highly processed foods turn out to be inexpensive and readily available.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yes. I don't want to be at the checkout at Staples and see candy and then go there for candy, right?
Right.
So and if we don't apply mindfulness, then that might get the best of us.
That might be what we call a loaded situation.
A totally open situation.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's our sad diet. And this epidemic that we've encountered, it really has caused us to gain a lot of weight. We weigh more than, I would say, as a nation, more than anyone in the world.
Right.
Big
And
problem
our
here.
longevity.
Has consequently suffered
Yes.
because of that, because we know that increasing weight, especially as we age, puts us at risk for chronic diseases, and it just takes away our livelihood,
Yes.
our ability to function,
And quality of life.
quality of life, totally.
Yeah.
And but what a lot of researchers now are starting to question is that maybe that excessiveness could potentially be offset if we amped up all the nutritious foods, right? So I don't know that that's exactly what's going to pan out, but I think if we can just tip the scales a little bit more,
Yeah.
so it's a little less of that excessiveness, a little less of the processed foods, things that are really stripped of their nutrition in favor of more whole foods, then you're going to tip the scales in your favor, right? Because we can't be perfect. Not in our society, but
No.
we're just looking to be better.
Yes.
Just be better. Yes. And so with a lot of the long living cultures, they tend to eat less. I would say Nicoya, as compared to the other long living cultures, I don't know that they eat a little less. I think they like their food. This is probably why I like to pass this topic the best. They like their food. They like to eat, and they probably eat a little bit more than like the Okinawans do, where they eat till they're 80% full.
Yeah, but I think the thing that also characterizes the Nicoyans is that they're really working physically.
I think so too. Yeah.
And it's a very hilly area.
Mhm.
It's this peninsula on the southern coast of Costa Rica, which is just
It's probably all hot there.
isolated.
Yeah.
Sounds
They're
horrible.
really good. I mean, photos of it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, they're probably working hard. So that probably is balanced out, when they eat a little bit more. But I think contrary to the sad diet, the long living cultures also use their hunger to indicate when it's time to eat and when it's time to finish eating. Right. And they tend to eat what they eat earlier in the day. In the sad diet, we tend to eat a lot of our calories later in the day. And that may be detrimental for our health too, because our body just metabolically is not meant to receive or digest and metabolize food later in the day. We're more primed to do that earlier in the day.
Mhm.
And I think that just goes back to biology and physiology. When the sun rises, we were working. We got up, we went to work, and so food then best supports those processes earlier in the day. Yeah. So something else to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Nicoya, as in all of the cultures, there's a healthier lifestyle, a health span, not just a lifespan, right?
Yeah.
And interestingly, they live longer than any other culture in North America, possibly the world.
What?
And the men
Again.
live 3 times longer than other men in other cultures.
The men haven't made in these long living cultures.
Yeah.
They certainly do. Yeah. I wonder what that is.
Well, I think that in Greece, I think the men are not working as hard as they may in other cultures.
Yeah.
And there's less stress on them.
Probably like less pressure to,
Mhm.
Yeah.
They don't use any kind of supplements or anything. It's a very,
What do you know?
it's a very, it's not a poor culture, right? They're not like grindingly poor, but it's an agrarian culture, and they are very frugal
Yeah.
with their resources, and they like we all should. They treat them with respect, and So, and they're eating locally because they're very isolated from other areas. They're not the tourist areas of Costa Rica.
Not at all.
They're walking every day. It's a hilly environment. They always have, there's a strong sense of purpose, right? They have to, manual labor is part of how they provide for their lives. So they're gardening and herding, etc.
Yeah.
And they have a culture of listening and laughing. Apparently, very good conversationalists, very attentive listeners, and very good at socializing. Which is a very big part of their lifestyle. They do get out in the sun. They do get out in the sun.
Yeah.
But it's very moderated, and they wear hats and all other kinds of clothing. One of the things that I thought maybe you would talk to them about is their breakfast.
Oh, their breakfast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always get excited about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a good example of the contrast between the SAD diet and a long living culture, Nicoyan Peninsula, and their diet. Mm-hmm. It's breakfast. It's demonstrated breakfast. So think about this. Everyone listening in, watching.
Yeah, we should have gotten a box of Captain Crunch.
We should.
Or Fruit Loops, right? Is that food? Is that?
I don't know. It's food. It's edible. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
It's edible, but I don't know if it's food.
Yeah. Okay.
It depends how you define food. Gives us some nutrition. I mean, quality, right? We're looking for quality. But everyone listening, think about what you eat for breakfast this morning.
Okay.
Think about that. Or what maybe you've eaten, or what you fed your family, or what your children eat, or your grandchildren, what they have for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine waking up and having, buckle up. Are you ready?
I'm buckled.
I know you're sitting.
Yeah, I'm buckled.
Rice, beans, and corn tortillas for breakfast.
Yes.
Breakfast. How does that sound?
And coffee.
And coffee, I forgot what. Yeah, that's kind of essential. But yeah, coffee.
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
It sounds delicious to me.
It sounds
really fattening to me, right?
It does sound fattening.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
But isn't that funny? These foods, rice, beans, corn.
Right? We have this idea of that's not good for us.
Where did that even come from?
Yeah.
It's not fair. So what I love to do in my work and in my practice is kind of dispel those myths, right?
Debunking.
I'm a debunk.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah. So, I mean, because come on, what did corn ever do to us? But give us really actually great nutrition. And same with rice, same with beans, and a lot of other carbohydrates, like the purple sweet potato in Okinawa.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Delicious.
These amazing carbohydrate containing foods. I don't know if someone put a comment up. These amazing carbohydrate containing foods are the sustenance for these long living cultures.
Yes.
So we can't blame them for doing anything negative to their physical or certainly their emotional health, because I mean, for me, I would love to eat that. Start my day on that.
Yeah.
I think it would be so energizing.
So what's so special about that for them?
Well, I don't know what's so special about it for them, but certainly, I always speak about beans. I love.
She loves her beans. She loves her beans. Yeah.
They're so underrated, underappreciated. They're such an economical choice.
So affordable.
Holy cow. And they are a powerhouse, a package of nutrition, and especially in the sense of the protein that they contain. So a lot of people are interested in plant proteins, and they are a great example of one of the best that we could have. And then when you throw in whole grains, like things like rice or corn.
Is that brown rice you would throw in there?
Well, I mean, I prefer that, sure.
Okay.
Yes. I would love some wild rice, although that's not very Nicoyan. Or forbidden rice. That's an Asian type of rice. But these other complementary whole grains, and including corn, they round out sort of a nutrition profile so that they give these amazing carbohydrates that are full of energy for us that we need. We need to that's what most of what we eat should be from, our carbohydrates. But they also come in this package. So I always use this concept of, if you're going to evaluate a food for something that it contains, like carbohydrates, then make that evaluation based on the company that the carbohydrate keeps. Okay, so if the carbohydrate is alongside these other vitamins and minerals, maybe there's some fiber in the package, such as whole grains, corn has some phytochemicals in it. Now that renders that carbohydrate like less scary, right? Because it's in this amazing package that is going to work wonders in our body and is really essential for our health. And what we're finding probably matters for our health span.
Yeah, and there's some indication that this breakfast, because it's really kind of a super
It's got it
food.
all. Yeah.
It's got it all, the beans and the rice combined to form a perfect food, right? For amino acids. Or?
Yeah. So that's something that I learned actually in college. Just going back a little bit.
No.
Where what we had to do, I know it's hard to believe. What we had to do, we had to combine plant proteins in order to make a complete protein at the same meal. So something like rice and beans is an example of that. We've learned since that the body is so capable, so amazing and adaptable that we don't have to do that. We don't have to combine rice and beans at the meal to make a complete protein. As long as we're eating them relatively within the same time frame, within a day or two, we still get the benefit of a complete protein from all of the amino acids.
Nice.
So most animal proteins are complete. They have all the amino acids that we require, and they're essential, meaning we can't make them. We have to eat them. So plant proteins, there are some exceptions out there, but most plant proteins are missing one or two of those amino acids. So we just, that speaks a little bit to variety, which we brought up in our longevity kitchen series before. But it's amazing how, like, the Nicoyans and I think of even Acaria, like, they eat the same foods every day.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be the right ones, and I don't know what to make of that. Like, they just figured it out a long time ago.
A long time ago, they say that they've been eating, it's a very ancient culture, and they've been eating this breakfast, what they said, for millennia.
That's insane.
Yes.
Like, think about that.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's doing them some good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it gives us some permission to question that myth that, carbohydrates like rice or corn or beans are bad for us.
Well, and I think the tortillas, though, like, they're making them from whole ground corn, right? Whole grain corn meal.
Right.
And that
so
would be
that's
something, if we were going to have tortillas on a regular basis, we would want to make sure that it was.
Yeah, and just so we want to, and that's a good thing to characterize and distinguish, is that it's not just any old tortilla, right? It's a special. They're making it from ground corn. And it makes it so delicious.
So delicious.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
But we can take advantage again in our American food supply, especially more recently, because a lot of food companies are coming out with some amazing products that are nutritious
Yeah.
and convenient for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Moving on.
moving on.
More about food.
Yes.
So with all of the long living cultures, I think you got it, from what Debbie shared in the beginning, they eat locally. They ate what was in season, because they kind of were forced to out of circumstance. They're so isolated that they didn't have the availability of all foods all over the world.
Yes.
And it worked for them, but they were very resourceful. And I think the climate kind of is conducive to helping them eat some of the most nourishing foods you could possibly eat, which are like the plant foods, right? So they had the garden, they had greens that they could forage, they used lots of herbs and spices because it's easy for them to acquire locally.
Yeah. And it, kind of protected them from falling prey to the overwhelming nature.
Yes.
I wasn't sure where the word was.
Yes.
Yeah. When fast food really started, being everywhere and processed foods are everywhere.
Yeah.
They're so isolated that I think they were actually protected from that influence.
They were lucky. Yeah.
And we find in all of these cultures, we find that when they get exposed to those sources of food, of course they're delicious, and they zing our brains and everyone loves the taste, everyone. it affects their health, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's that, and that's a great lesson in lifestyle, right? So anyone that says it's all genetics, you know, we know that when people maybe relocate and change their lifestyle, so they change their diet, especially, we see that it changes their life expectancy simply because of their diet change. So despite what they were passed down genetically and what they, you know, inherited, that the food could change that.
Yeah, they actually evaluated the genetic profile of the Nicoyans.
They did.
They did, and they found, and they found that they have longest telomeres strains.
Yes.
Of any culture in I think it was North America,
Wow. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And sort of, they say their diet may be contributing to that, which contributes to longevity.
What do you know? Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of complicated. I just want to check the time. So telomeres, we're going to start cooking pretty soon. It's hard to explain, but they're like, you know, shoelaces. No one wears shoelaces anymore. But you know, like the plastic cap on the end of the shoelace? Yeah. Those are what telomeres are. They're like a protective cap for our DNA. And so when the DNA replicates, it shortens that cap. The telomere gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. So eventually the cap's gone and then the DNA can't really replicate right. And that's when disease sets in, right? So we want to protect those telomeres. And something about lifestyle, and we'll take a lesson from today in Nicoya, something about lifestyle might protect that plastic cap on the shoelace, right? Otherwise it opens up and it frays that shoelace. And so you can see the shoelace doesn't really work anymore. So we want to keep that cap on and keep it as long as we can. Now, there's a little bit of early research that diet, and it probably is like a whole food plant-based diet, helps to protect those telomeres and just keeps them long, right? So that way we can keep replicating our DNA without any repercussions.
Yes, and like all of the other cultures that we've studied in this program, the Nicoyans also eat meat more like a condiment.
Yes. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So that's a big contrast, I would say, right, to the sad diet.
Dairy.
Yeah, a lot less dairy, a lot less meat. The Nicoyans, if they eat meat, they have pork more often, but they celebrate it. You know, like it's a special occasion for them to have that pork.
And many, many fruits, particularly tropical fruits, grow wild there.
Yes.
So they'll eat a lot of papaya. Now this one isn't 100% ripe yet.
I did the best I could.
But we're gonna cut into it so you can see it. Now, when you buy a papaya, you should wrap it in paper and leave it on the counter. Usually they already come wrapped in paper. Leave it on the counter until the skin is yellow like that. And it should be yellow all over. That means it's really super ripe and sweet. And we're going to cut this up and show you the inside and how to eat it. But it's delicious with a little lime juice squeeze.
I was just thinking the same thing. I promise you. Delicious with
absolutely delicious.
I actually brought some lime juice.
Look how beautiful that is.
I mean, I'm going to see the end because I'm just like, I want to see too.
It's so pretty.
It's like art.
It's such well, tell us a little bit about papaya.
I would say papaya is one of, and it's not really fair to do this to fruit because all fruit is good fruit. Okay, look how beautiful.
Just beautiful. Now, when it's ripe, it's really orange.
I'm smelling it.
Very orange.
Yeah, like more throughout, right? Like towards the edges, you'll see.
So, and you'll scoop the seeds out and peel it, which I'm gonna do, and.
So papaya is probably like one of the highest rated fruit that we could eat because what it contains. It's just like this abundant amount. Like talk about excess. Papaya's got excess. There's a lot of vitamin C in it. So really important for our immune system. There's potassium, which is an important mineral that most of us in the SAD diet do not eat because we just don't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. That's where we find potassium. There's also this interesting enzyme. So it's called papain. Say what?
Say what?
Papain. So maybe you've heard of it. Papain is a digestive enzyme. So it comes naturally present in papaya and it helps us to digest our food. So I don't know, maybe if we're starting to eat more beans in the diet,
Yes.
we want to incorporate some papaya with it. So it'll help us to digest those beans a little bit better. And sometimes I think, again, like that was just Mother Nature, you know, affording the Nicoyans. I'll take a little. Affording the Nicoyans, you know, the benefit of this papaya. Uh-oh. Don't cut me.
You know, it's actually very sweet, even though it's not ripe.
I can't wait. So, and this we got at Jewel, Costco. Sometimes you'll find it pre-cut in case you don't want to do any of the work, you know, so you'll find it halved in the grocery store. Really special flavor, I think unique, really.
It's so pretty, so sweet, delicious with a little lime juice squeezed on top.
There's also carotenoids in papaya. So you've probably heard of beta carotene. Really good for our body's immune system, and it's anti-inflammatory as well as an antioxidant. So talk about living longer. Like those are the types of things we want to saturate our body with in food form. There's also folate in papaya, which helps our DNA stay healthy.
And it's not like sicky sweet, but it's just sweet enough.
It's just enough. And that's why I think like the complement of the lime with that is out of this world. I encourage you, like think about that as a treat for yourself instead of Oreos.
Well, okay, don't even get me started.
Or peanut M&Ms.
Oh, okay.
How dare I?
Well, okay, so that they really do find a lot of these fruits growing wild in the environment. Bananas,
really cool.
plantains, papaya,
Lime,
mango.
lemon, yeah, and they just like use that to flavor as a dessert even. Guava, gosh, you'll find guava too, so good. The entire guava fruit is edible, even the skin. Now that's a lot of fiber, right? So anytime you're adding a little bit more fiber to your diet, just think about lots of fluids with it and go slow. But they grow like wild. They have this access to all this great fruit. And I would encourage you to think about incorporating it in different ways, like the squeeze of the lime or the lemon. You could mix it in with a grain dish, you know, and add like just that interesting element of even like green onion with like, I'm just thinking brown rice with some chopped up papaya, like just different, you know, and that's the type of flavor profiles I want you to explore if you find something that you do like.
Yeah. So they have beans at almost every meal,
They beat it up.
rice at almost every meal, corn at almost every meal.
Yeah. And there's actually something called, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, the three sisters of agriculture. So those are the three sisters. Well, no, squash is the other sister, not rice.
Yeah.
I lied.
And we wanted to make a squash dish. We had to use zucchini because we couldn't find the, how do you say that? Chayote?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We were a little
Squash.
disappointed. We'll talk about it. We're going to do that recipe
Yeah.
first. But the three sisters of agriculture is all about companion planting. So these three crops, squash, corn, and beans, grow together and
Yes.
they have this synergy that work together.
Yes.
So the stalk of the corn allows for the beans to curl up the stalk,
Yes.
and then the squash. Have you ever seen a squash leaf? It's like this huge umbrella, right? So it gives shade to the soil to allow all of the plants to grow even better.
And control pests and weeds.
Even that too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then they also, and what's interesting, if you think about the nutrition of each of those, corn gives us the complex carbohydrates that I mentioned earlier. Beans are rich in protein and fiber. And then the squash is like, you know, something like zucchini we're showing you today, really nutrient dense, low energy, not a lot of calories, lots of vitamins and minerals and water, high water content to zucchini.
Yeah, so look on your handout for the flavor profiles. They're very different than the ones we've had before.
They are.
So we're
We'll
going to
talk about-
explore some of those flavors today, like we have with our papaya. Remember that their eating behaviors are different. They eat much earlier in the day, and they have a light meal at night.
Yeah. Isn't that an interesting way to eat?
And of course, they start each day, and part of their culture is honesty, friendliness, faith. And they start each day really with the same things, beans and corn and yeah.
Yeah.
And fruit, a lot of fruit.
A nice
inside.
rhythm, I imagine, like a nice flow to their day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they have a lot of fruit in
They
their
do.
diet. Yeah.
Lucky them. I think partly that's why I love this class too.
And one of the things that they have is called Plan de Vida. And that is, they have a strong sense of purpose. And their sense of purpose has to do with contributing to their families and their communities. So they're all kind of working together, right? There's this, yes.
I love that.
They tend to live in extended families, again, like all the other cultures. They live with extended family. Loneliness is not something that's common there, which loneliness really impacts longevity.
Yeah.
And they really are not a wealthy people, not a real poor people either, but they're frugal, and they really value simplicity.
Yeah.
Right, both in food and in lifestyle.
I could live with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to start our first recipe.
Yes.
With a veggie and
We
a
call it
Nicoyan
veggie hash.
veggie hash. I'm sure they're not calling it veggie hash.
What do you think they're calling it?
I don't know. I don't know the Spanish name for hash.
Veggie de vida.
Oh, okay.
Like sure. So what we're gonna do, I have this saucepan heating up. All right, I'm gonna put it on medium, and we're gonna basically just combine all the ingredients in and just cook it for about 20-25 minutes and see what comes from it.
Yes.
Yeah. So in this recipe, we have a lot of interesting ingredients. We're gonna bring around to the camera,
Okay.
and some convenient ones too.
Okay, I will do. So.
Yeah.
So it calls for corn. And basically, we had this corn that we actually had in the fridge. It's fire roasted corn, and we just thought, okay, well, let's use that. And I think it'll be delicious. I mean, I just don't think it but this is a way of just using what you have in your kitchen. And cooking can be baking can't be, it has to be very precise, but cooking can be a little looser than that. So we're using these.
We love it. Oh, yeah, that's an example of a convenient food. And I got some heat going already. Now you could take these from frozen or thaw them out overnight. We might get some steam on the camera. We're gonna take an eye. We're gonna watch that. Yeah, it's steaming a little bit. The recipe calls for chayote squash, which normally I have no problem finding. This class apparently, though, had a little bit of difficulty. So we substituted instead just some zucchini. Or you could use yellow squash, but look for that chayote squash. It almost looks like it's very mild in flavor. There it is, everything's mixing in. It's very mild in flavor, and it almost looks like a pear in a way with a really thick skin. So you'll just peel that off the chayote and just slice it up. You can seed it too. So in here we have the zucchini, the corn. I'm going to pick some of the rest of the corn up.
I spelled it.
And then some bell peppers. I went with red. You could do any color you want. Red is going to give you more vitamin C than green, but I wanted to give this dish some color. So that's why we went with red. And then in here is half a sweet Vidalia onion.
And you know what's so nice is the Vidalia onions are in season now. They're very inexpensive and they are just delicious.
So delicious. Just a different flavor altogether. And then, all right, so we're mixing that in. And then we also have a stalk of celery, just cut up, and 2 cloves of garlic, minced, but we used our frozen garlic cube, one of Debbie's favorite.
Yeah, I'm not mincing garlic. I'm not. So we use the frozen garlic that you pop out of the container.
Do you want to show this one?
I do. Why
right.
don't you take it?
And then, yeah, show them that.
Okay, this is called achiote rojo. And where did you get this, Laura?
Jewel Oscar.
Um,
That's right.
and this is what it looks like. It's a paste that
It's a
smells like vinegary and peppery at the same time, and it's a seasoning.
So it's
And
mostly,
this-
yeah.
Is also we got this at Jewel.
I got it at Jewel. I couldn't believe
Jewel,
it.
okay. It's called culantro, and it's a cooking base for rice, beans, whatever, right? So it's a spice that we use with cilantro and green bell pepper, onion. So it's a combination of things, and that's flavoring this also.
Yeah, so okay, so we'll start first with this ancho paste. It's mostly annatto seed, but it's got this like slightly sweet but smoky flavor that I just love. I think that's part of why I like Nicoyan Peninsula and their recipes is that kind of smoky heat. It's not directly hot spice unless you want it to be, but it's like a smoky kind of heat. And like smoked paprika is another good example. I just love that flavor. I think it just enhances, something like plant foods, like what we're making here. And it also has cumin in it and a little bit of coriander and pepper, as well as garlic and cloves and oregano. So imagine it's like this flavor bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So think about ancho paste. I only put in a teaspoon for this whole pan with a cup of water to kind of mellow out the paste. And think of it like tomato paste in a way. Like it's a flavor bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were to make a marinara or a pizza sauce, or gravy, as us East Coasters say.
Yeah.
Then you'll use a little bit of that tomato paste. The same goes with the ancho paste. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. And then back to the culantro. This is the cooking base. I couldn't find culantro coyote, which is an indigenous herb to, I think, Latin America in its entirety, but
it looks like a green.
Yeah, it's in the family of cilantro, so that's why you might be questioning, like, what's culantro?
Yeah.
Did you mean to say cilantro?
No.
Nope, it's culantro.
Yes.
And it's like a longer stemmed herb. It's really interesting looking, and it has a more intense flavor than cilantro when you cook it. So what we would suggest is you add it early on. Now, if you don't like cilantro, you're going to omit this cilantro paste out of this recipe.
And the cilantro.
And the cilantro, which we're going to put in next. Yeah. Because if you don't like cilantro, you could add parsley. Just use that instead if you're not a fan of cilantro, like I am.
Yeah. Well, that's starting to smell pretty good.
Yeah. I think it's good for summer too. Like I think of, the heat. It's going to turn out really good.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds great. Okay.
I'm going to finish with this, I think, after. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to put it in later?
I like to add cilantro at the end. You'll lose the flavor if you add it in early. So again, if you don't really love cilantro, you could add it in earlier and you'll lose some of that flavor that some people don't care for.
So what we're going to be making now are the hearts of palm ceviche.
Oh, ooh, sounds fancy.
And boy, this is such an easy recipe. And
so easy.
I'm going to just move this around. So
I make it all the time in like versions of it.
yeah. So I'm going to do this on the camera.
I'll give you a little glance of what's going on.
Oh yeah, that's so nice. So in a bowl, we are going to add our hearts of palm And these just come in a can, a pop top can. It's so easy. And some of them even come sliced.
They're so good.
And they're so good as a
So good.
snack, right?
Yes.
I like to eat these if I'm a little hungry and I want something that's like healthy and low calorie.
Yeah.
And they look like this when they come out of the can. And you just slice them into discs like that.
Yeah, they're so good. They're the inner core of a palm tree, of a type of a palm tree. And they're not without nutrition. There's a good amount of zinc actually in parts of palm, and same with vitamin C. I don't know if I'm on camera. I'm going to try to be. A little bit of potassium. They will be salty. So if you're looking to reduce the salt, you want to rinse them out of the can.
We have onion, sweet onion and bell pepper.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
No.
yummy. So I juiced
A lemon, right?
I juiced a lemon already, and it asked for a little bit more, so I'm just going to squeeze some of this in, some lime juice too. And a little bit of salt. And we use the Himalayan salt. Sometimes we use some kosher salt, right?
Yeah.
We try to watch how much salt we use. So I'm just going to put a little bit in, and then, you can salt to taste. And we're going to add the cilantro to that, the fresh cilantro that we bought. And you can see we have this nice tub of fresh cilantro. If you like cilantro, boy, it's really good for you, right, Laura?
It's amazing.
And then I wanted to show you, this is a jalapeno pepper. And a lot of times we don't know how to work with this. So what I've done is I removed the seeds from the inside very carefully, because this is super spicy, super duper spicy. And so we remove the seeds, and then we dice it up nice and small. And we'll put that, and that'll add quite a bit of heat even without the seeds. The seeds are the thing that give it a lot of heat.
Yeah, so if you're using your bare hands, don't rub your eyes
Oh no.
if you touch those seeds. Now, if you don't want the heat, just based on your flavor profile or preferences, you could use bell pepper instead, more of it, or you could use poblano. Poblano is not spicy. A little more like smoky heat, I would say.
It smells so delicious.
I love this recipe. Very refreshing, I would say. Great summer recipe. If you wanted to, you probably could add beans to this, like black beans. You could add some corn to this, but as is, again, it's just in its simplicity, it's so delicious.
And it says to eat it with a tortilla or as a side salad.
Yeah.
And also recommends that we put some pepper. And boy, pepper is really good for you too, right, Laura?
Great for the digestion, and I always like pepper is like next up after beans. Like we don't appreciate pepper, but pepper it has tons of antioxidant properties, and again, great for the digestion. Great flavor. Fresh cracked is even better, and a little bit goes a long way. But again, it comes from a plant, so always remember that with your herbs and spices. Don't downplay that they offer, besides flavor, a ton of nutrition. And if we can just use them a little bit more at meals, then we're really embracing this kind of long living culture way of eating. Looks
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's such a pretty salad, lots of flavor. You can zhuzh it up if you wanna.
We're gonna ice that back up.
And I really did not put a lot of jalapeno in there because the people who are gonna be eating this, I don't think they're really into that much spice.
No, I mean, I love it, but we gotta be respectful of who we're serving to. Yeah. So this is still working through. We're gonna let it go for about 20 minutes. And I'm gonna show you, do you want me to do the next recipe or?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this is gonna be an easy one because I made it yesterday. So it's called chilero sauce. And
But we have some ingredients we want to talk about, right?
yes, I might start eating it because I think it's so good. So this is like chilero sauce, as it was described in the cookbook that we use, is like the Costa Rican condiment of choice.
Yes.
Like, you know, it's not ketchup or mayo.
That smells so good.
I know.
Yeah.
This is their condiment. So what they do is they basically pickle, they vinegar a ton of these amazing vegetables. And I'm going to show you what we have on our tray that right off the bat just looks like a winner, right? In terms of its color. So what I did yesterday is I sliced up a carrot, which you don't see in the bowl, but there was a carrot and the Vidalia onions. We just kept going with the Vidalia, and you parboil them. So you bring water up to a boil, put in the carrots and the onions for just a couple minutes, rinse that off, let it cool. And then I chopped up all the other veggies. So the cauliflower into little florets, that's a poblano pepper. So I just sliced that. I sliced,
And you took all the seeds out.
I took most of the seeds out.
Yeah. Because that'll add some spice,
Because
right?
we got seeds here in our jalapeno, which also goes into this hot sauce. And then I sliced a cucumber, the bell peppers again. So a lot of similar ingredients. It's kind of nice. They roll into each other in these recipes. And then the jalapeno you see. And then so I cut them all up sort of similar in size, because then I liberally salted them. So I think I put like a whole tablespoon of salt, and I used the kosher salt, and I let that sit for just a little bit. But then I put it into this mason jar, and I covered it with vinegar, and just plain white vinegar. And you're gonna let that sit out at room temperature. Keep it away from the sunlight though. We don't want it to cook in there. We're just gonna keep it out for about a day, if not longer, and enjoy what's inside.
I think we should try it.
Yes, please. So this as a condiment can be used on almost anything, you know, like on top of a salad. Like it's going to give a great punch to that salad. If you made a bean or a rice dish, you could throw that on. You could put this on top of like a veggie wrap. You know, with your eggs, with your rice and beans in the morning. You know, there's just that they just use it with everything.
Yes.
I'll take it from here.
Yes.
And it really just packs a punch. But again, it's like as a condiment, there's a little bit of salt in it, but you're eating vegetables as a condiment. How cool is that? So why not give it a try? And the right type of vegetables, right? I mean, we got onions, cucumber, bell pepper,
Let's see
cauliflower.
how it tastes, Laura.
Well, it's gonna be good. I tried it already.
I haven't.
I want you to have some carrot too.
Oh, you're giving me like and a whole piece of jalapeno. Woohoo!
Go for it. And so this has been sitting for about a day. It's not quite a day yet, but
Oh, that's delicious.
I'm excited about it. Yeah, you could probably blend this up if you wanted to make like literally a sauce out of it. I'm using my fingers. It's finger food, right? The recipe doesn't call for it to be blended, but I bet you it would be great if you put that into a blender.
The flavor, it's spicy.
It's got heat. Yeah.
But what a great snack, right? Really great condiment. It reminds me a little bit of like the condiment, like the kimchi that is in Korean food.
Yes.
They eat this a lot, like with everything, and they blend it up and pour it over stuff and add different ingredients. There's a lot of suggestions on your handout.
Yes.
Regarding this, but it's delicious.
It's got some heat. I love it.
And I think also when you eat things that are this flavor intense, packed with this kind of flavor, they're very satisfying right before.
So,
Yeah.
because they think, I think I read this somewhere. They think there's a connection between our palate or our taste receptors and our digestion and our gut, and that if we're really satisfied in our mouth, then we're going to be satisfied in our belly. So it's, observe that for yourself and see if that's the case for you. I know it matters for me. Like if I feel disappointed in something I ate, I want to do better and find something else that tastes better.
Well,
So
that is a flavor bomb.
definitely, yeah. And there's vinegar in here too, and that helps with digestion. So really great idea too, with all those beans you'll be eating.
Well, I could see putting this on top of like rice and beans or mixing it in with rice. It would be delicious.
Great flavor. Yeah,
Really great flavor.
and this is still, I'm just going to tilt this so you can see, this is still cooking through, but cooking down, we're almost there. We want to kind of, my glasses just fogged. We want to make sure that the liquid is thickening up a little bit more. So it's going to take a little bit of time. So that we have a hash.
I'm just gonna look at our comment real quick. that we have.
I might need some papaya for the pain.
Does the vinegar destroy the probiotic effects of the veggies?
Really good question. Okay, so probiotics are not found in vegetables. Prebiotics are. So the onion and the garlic especially are going to be a ton of prebiotics, which are great for our gut because we have live microorganisms that need to eat. And if we can give them prebiotics in food, and that's a lot of plants, but particularly garlic and onions, then they will thrive and our gut will be happy as a result. So the vinegar doesn't render any kind of probiotic or prebiotic function any less effective. Really good question.
Yeah.
Was there another?
And do you have any bean cookbooks that you like? What was the other question?
Do I? We'll have to, do I? I gotta say my favorite, if you just want to go to their website, it's called Pulses, PULSES.org, pulses.org. And it's an international website. So you might want to just filter to the US location. And there are a ton of recipes, but really great resources like meal prep and meal plans, all different types of beans. So you can find the one that you like, but also in the pulse family, it's also legumes, right? So it's lentils, not just beans, but also split peas. So if those are ingredients you're curious to learn more about, that's a great website. But I'll share some additional cookbooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about these. Do they need to be hydrated?
Keep them dry.
Okay.
I really do.
All right.
It doesn't say in the recipe.
Okay, so this is going to be our last recipe. I'm going to try to show it in the camera.
Okay.
Okay.
Some beans do have a lot of sodium, so you can look for varieties that are no salt added. Okay. Rinse anything that comes in a can. You'll lose about 40% of the sodium that's in with it. But also too, that's why we recommend, if you can, to look for dry beans. They are the most economical and they will be salt free, but they require some more time, so you have to do a little bit of prep and planning if you'd like to incorporate more beans. I have dried beans at home, and every so often I'll make a batch.
Yeah, I know. It requires you to think about what you're going to be cooking the next day.
It really does. And lentils, if you're curious, like to add the value of nutrition in a legume, lentils are like the fast food version of dried beans. So these only you're going to rinse them really well because you want to rinse off what they've been sitting in, and pick out any like funny looking lentils, like discolored or off shape. So rinse them, rinse them a couple times through, and these will cook up in like 20 minutes. So these, that's so fast, and it's a version of a dry bean. So you might want to look at that as well.
So, yeah. So just got this jackfruit at the store. It comes in a slice,
Really funny looking.
very funny looking. And here's what it looks like on the inside. But we're going to use the processed jackfruit. This is what it looks like on the inside.
So in the store, you might see a whole jackfruit, like this was sliced, we showed you, but it's massive. It's like this, it's bigger than a football.
Yeah.
It's just huge, and this is sort of ripe. But it's a fruit. Jackfruit is a fruit.
Yeah.
So you'll see it's very popular actually now. Right now it's a trend. It's delicious, right? I'm trying to pick it out. Unripened jackfruit, you'll see in a lot of new products on the market. So there's a company called like Jackfruit Company, I think. And they take unripened jackfruit and they'll use it as a meat substitute, because the texture of this, you see, it's sort of like shreds. So think about this as like your shredded chicken or shredded pork. But it's a fruit, right? It's not pork, red meat, or chicken. And they'll flavor it. So in this recipe, we're using the ripened version. So it's sweet.
It's very sweet.
It's so good.
It is delicious. I've never had it before.
Really different.
It tastes tropical.
I think so too.
So is that, it's like blurry. Hold on. Take that one. There we go. Okay, so that's the jackfruit. For this recipe, we're going to be using this product. And where did you get this, Laura?
That I got at Whole Foods.
Whole Foods.
In the frozen section.
And so this is what it looks like.
And guess what it is? The ingredients read, I don't even know why it says plural ingredients, because there's only one, and it's organic ripe jackfruit. That's all that's in this. All right, and it's frozen, and it's all, the work is already done, so it's all cut up. You don't have to deal with this. Really convenient, nutritious product. You could eat it as is, like frozen out of the bag. It's so good.
And we're just going to combine.
Let's see more of this.
We're going to combine the onion, most of it. And boy, Lori just talked about onions, and Vidalia onions are so delicious.
I absolutely love them.
And green onion. Beautiful flavor, beautiful color and flavor. We're saving some for garnish on the top. That's what he's telling us to do. Seaweed, and there's this product. I spilled out the oil.
Seaweed is going in here. This is nuts.
And this is the seaweed that we're using. It's already diced up and ready to go.
Craziness. It's dry.
And so we're going to be adding some sesame oil to this, which I spilled all over the tray, so I have to pour it again. And I just use, it says a quarter to a half a cup. I just used a quarter of a cup of that. And then it asks us to toss it. But it looks so pretty.
Mm. Yeah, look at how pretty that is.
It's so pretty with the yellow jackfruit and the black from the seaweed.
Yeah. Wow. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, this
Onion
one's going
and
to be,
sweet onion, like this savory seaweed.
I'm just going to take it off camera and stir it up. And then it asks us to add inamona,
Right? In a
right?
minute.
Which is really just sesame seed, toasted sesame, and pine nuts. and toasted together and then ground up. So we add that to it.
And I love taking seeds and nuts and toasting them, right? So you could put it in the oven, or you could just take a saute pan and put them on the stove on medium heat for just a couple minutes because you don't want it to burn. But it really adds this nice dimension, this complexity, depth to flavor that you might not otherwise have in nuts and seeds.
And really great sesame seed oil,
Ooh.
pine nuts, sesame seeds are all readily available in every single grocery store, which is so nice because they used to be kind of rare ingredients, you know.
Yes.
And it said to save some of this to garnish with, but I don't think it needs it.
No, it's so pretty. What an
Really so
interesting
pretty.
dish that is.
Very interesting. I'm just going to add the rest of this thing.
Bigger bowl.
Probably use a bigger bowl.
Yeah, I wish we had a clear one.
I know. Oh,
Let's check in there. Our hash is coming together. Right, so it's really thickening up. And I would add beans to this too, and then you could put it over rice if you wanted to.
Yeah, beans would be delicious. So, boy, look how beautiful that is.
I love it.
I think we should taste this right away.
Of course we're gonna.
I just want to show everybody this.
Really
Really,
interesting.
really beautiful colors. Yes.
That one I'm gonna put in. Now bowl.
You want this one?
Okay. I'll keep it in this guy. So, wow. I'm like digging the colors already. I can't wait to try that one. I know I'm gonna love that one. The nice hot pickles, really good. And this we're gonna take off the heat and just show you as well.
I'm gonna try this real quick.
That's an interesting bowl.
Well, I have a lot of stuff in there.
So the sauce is thick. It's not, I can't even lift this. I did an arm workout a couple days ago. My arms are still paying for it.
Okay, look.
So that's part of sharing together. We're gonna watch because
That is
different. Be honest.
it's good.
Yeah.
It's sweet
I can't wait to try it.
and nutty,
Yeah.
and the seaweed
The seaweed.
is salty.
Yeah. And the sesame seed.
I was sesame
saving.
seed stuff.
She was saving it. That was on your lip.
So that is, it's different,
Yes. All right. Let me.
but I like it.
Okay. Yeah. Different.
It has a lot of different flavors in it. And boy, that seaweed is really good for you, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And it just packed with some special minerals. We're gonna top this with some just fresh cilantro. But I'm gonna leave the rest because if anyone doesn't care for it, yeah, maybe you can see. So pretty, the colors, I think. Yeah.
Boy, we have such colorful dishes this time around, Lori.
I said eat the rainbow. But I think, yeah, that's probably why I'm really into this class. I think the flavors are really just up my alley with the heat and the smokiness. But visually, I like to see a lot of vibrant color. I think to me that entices me. I mean, I might as well just put it in here.
Those are the 3 dishes. And that is the condiment. And we are going to refocus on us now. And just a reminder, you guys, we're alone here.
We do.
So we're doing it all.
We try our best. At
Mhm.
the end of the day, we try our best. Yeah.
Boy, and we finished just in time. I wonder if we have about 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? Oh, wait, let me look in the chat.
Yeah, I dig this.
It says, what kind of beans do you recommend? Some have a lot of sodium.
This is so good. Do you not love this?
Yeah, I like it.
I want there's no leftovers there. It's salty and sweet.
Yes,
I mean, great mouthfeel with the sesame oil. I love sesame oil too.
me too.
Big fan. So all beans are good beans. I think I answered this question before I looked over at the chat.
Oh,
The canned beans will contain sodium, so you can look for versions. We showed it in one of our classes. There's like a boxed version that's BPA free as well, that they do not add any salt to the box. So just as convenient. But whenever you rinse off any canned item, you're going to rinse off a significant amount of the sodium. So most of the reports say about 40%. So this is a good to know, right? But another great option are dried beans. Okay, so again, it just requires a little bit more work, but they are sodium free, I think. So most foods contain a touch of sodium. We add a lot during processing.
yes.
And then I mentioned the lentils, right? So if you're looking to incorporate a legume that's dry without the sodium, that'll cook up in 20 minutes. So it's like fast food of the legume world. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also, if you're going to cook beans, you can also take the dried beans and boil them.
Yes,
Right.
you could quick
And
soak
then
them.
that's a quick soak,
Yeah.
and then cook them, right?
Yeah, you can soak them overnight, even bring them to a boil for an hour the next day, and then cook them. A lot of people are investing in instant pots for that reason. They'll cook a lot quicker. But this is why we almost always advocate like batch cooking when you do have the time, because they will freeze for months.
Yes.
Months.
Yeah,
So,
that's such a great idea. I love that idea.
yeah.
Especially if you want to incorporate more beans.
Right, because I know it's not always easy, and it's just like it's not something we're used to. You know, a lot of these long living cultures, that's just again a staple in their diet. So it's what they've always known. It's what they do. The children are like accustomed to. They can probably make the beans themselves. You know?
Yeah, I think they're putting up a pot of beans to soak overnight every night.
Yeah. Exactly.
So after we soak the beans and we cook them, it's like cooking them for like an hour, right? They need to be cooked for like an hour, yeah. So it's also very passive, right? Which I love, right? Just
I'm a
put
fan of
something
passive
on. I
cooking.
mean, look, you just cover the beans with water, you leave them out on the counter overnight. Then you come in,
You go
and
vacuum,
while you're
doing the laundry.
baking your chicken
Yeah.
or whatever, you boil your beans and etc. Yeah.
This is delicious too. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, these are great summer dishes. The hearts of palm ceviche, delicious summer dish. I would serve that for a luncheon for sure. And also the jackfruit. I was really happy to use that because I have not used that before, and really good for you, right?
This is by far my favorite.
Yeah,
We never made it before.
right. And did we go over the nutritional value of jackfruit?
Did we save the bag in my house?
Yes.
So it's a fruit. Therein, it's a good choice, right? Good amount of vitamin C. Most of our like tropical fruits are going to be high in vitamin C. There's probably a reason for that. But it's an antioxidant, really good for our immune system. There's some potassium in jackfruit. Anything else?
Wow. Manganese.
Manganese, an interesting mineral. I think it's a mineral. Oh.
Yeah, a lot of it. 22% of the daily or what
Daily
DV.
value.
Yeah.
So manganese is a like a trace mineral. So we literally need it in trace amounts. But it's involved in the ROS system, reactive oxidative system.
Oh my God, she's like the scientist.
It's ROS. That's the only don't ask what it stands for. It's ROS. But ROS helps us to kind of detoxify in a way, I would say. That's a really good way of putting it. So, we're constantly being exposed to what we call free radicals. And they are what they sound like. They're radical. So they like wreak havoc on the system and do damage. Like it's our pollution, but even just what we do to our bodies every day generates these free radicals. But when we have our reactive ROS components, like manganese is one of them, it comes in and helps fix the damage of those free radicals. It actually gives them an electron. It's very generous.
So nice.
So that the free radical is not like a maniac causing
A
havoc.
gremlin.
Yes.
And
So good for us.
also has quite a bit of vitamin E, a little bit of calcium and potassium.
What do you know?
Really good for you.
Funny that a fruit would have calcium, right? So again, like these long living cultures with less dairy in their diet, they found other sources to satisfy what they need.
Oh, delicious. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it was such a fun last class for this series. Maybe we'll resurrect it sometime in end of 2021, 2022. We'll see.
I like that idea.
And it was so nice to see everybody here today. One more. Hold on. There's one more quick question. Would you show a close-up of the rectangle box of paste?
Oh, no. So I found it at Jewel Osco, and you don't even have to look in the ethnic aisle. It was actually, I think, by like the sauces.
I'm trying to get the camera to focus on it.
And again, think of it like a paste. It's like
There
this
we go.
flavor bomb of smoky heat. It's high in salt, right? But we talked about this with like
That's what it looks
miso.
like.
Yeah. So it's like this little, you don't need a lot of it, but there's a lot of salt, a lot. And it's mostly annatto seed, but again, it has that cumin, the oregano and the pepper. There's coriander and cloves. So it's like, it's this bomb
Yeah.
of flavor. Yeah.
Flavor bomb.
Yes.
Well, thanks for joining us again today. We really appreciate your participation. We have a lot of fun providing this programming to everybody. We hope that you get some benefit from it and also have a little bit of fun with us in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So,
It's a pleasure.
yep, have a healthy day.
A peaceful day,
Yeah,
mindful.
and we'll see you next time.